discuss church, family, and issues of modernity or response. Jack Welch and Ward have reminded us to be able to see against how we see how God's plan in the with family and the communities. Human beings live in a counterbalance more likely to a Western. So the individual as a center of human activity that remind us that human beings are involved in a social and a cultural system. Social and a cultural system play a crucial role in shaping the individual. We will discuss modernity. Belswick and Ward presented us with a key question that has now been overlooked in discussing the modern family. Based on what I understand, modernities are a movement from the past, or a story leading into the future. The time period next to is past, present, and the future in other words. That time actually coincides with modernities. The next topic is a clarification of term. Modernity has a different meaning for everyone. Some understand the word modern that means now. Ray Anderson pointed out while modernity is a moving toward some of type combination, it remains in the sixth day of creation in human history on earth. And then, as Scott Barsar pointed out, Palestine during the time of Christ was a modern world. Greek civilization was spreading throughout the region. Cities with many competing cultures were emerging, and a political state with a centralized power dominated the state. It was in this setting that Paul saw the strength the Christian family began to see in Galatians 5, Colossians 3, Timothy 5, Colossians and war modernity is a unique type of techno-social order that emerged in the West after the 6th century. Belswick and Dunn at lies show us how economics and social organization shape our communication and culture. They also require a dialectical understanding of the relationship between socio-economic system and cultural symbol. In international societies, look at courage and exchange for survival. In the modern societies, goods are produced in the strength social relation. In the modern societies, goods are produced in the strength social relation. In modern societies, goods are produced for the market and sold for cash. Beyond that, they have become central to our cultural values, the power and rank of individual and determined primarily by the material object they control. In most traditional societies, the relationship are priorities over material benefit. Kindship and a covenant are the very essences of life.
Right now, I will present this about additional dimension of modernity. The model proposed by Bolswick and Ward can also be strengthened by adding another dimension of modernity, not by other scholars. Durkheim give example is demonstrate a shift from a group-centered society to an individual-centered society. At the same time, the awakening of kinship and the breaking up of kinship groups that provide support for the family. From this emerges the personality of the religious ascetic entrepreneur who recite the capital necessary to create industry and promote the rational capitalistic organization of for free labor. The next is a mechanistic view of the world. Peter Berger argues that the second shift marking the rise of modernity is a shift from an organic to a mechanistic view of reality. In the discussion, Scott Barksey cautioned us against taking an overly simplistic view of this shift. He points out that there are other basic metaphors and that every society uses more than one at the same time. The latter is most deeply shaped by rationalization and mechanistic view of reality. The latter consists of home and friends, relationship, emoticon, arts, and entertainment maintain their domain position. Many of the problems we face in the modern family stem from this dichotomy of reality and the fact that more and more areas of life such as education, worship, and caring for children and parents and economic support in times of crisis are being taken over by society. The conscious of these are similar to those described by Bolswick and Ward for the fragmentation of consciousness in societies where no single worldview is dominant relativism arise. And people in traditional societies have the same view of reality. In the modern society, they are faced with a bewildering variety of causes, with the loss of community and other sensible structures that reinforce their existing beliefs. They are faced with the creation of their own world and with the collapse of their sense of meaning. It must be reacted in every instance by those involved. And the next topic is working critics of modernity up. Bolswick and Ward explain that for Christians, sociological description of the family is in the context of modernity is not sufficient. We do not accept existing practice as normative. Instead, we criticize social reality in the lack of biblical truth. Is organization with councils, budgets, bar and staff work and enjoyment by purpose is almost indistinguishable from other modern institution. Members become cooks in the machine and change part of the growth card. Likewise, theologically, we must discuss the extreme individualism and narcissism of modernity. Too often, Christianity itself is seen as path to success, wealth, health, and the fulfillment of our own personally desires. Rather, the gospel calls us to covenant communities where we deny ourselves to be disciples of our Lord, and where we minister to the needs of others.
Hello, my name is Pascal Domingo Purba. My number student 71-2019-261. A Theological Critique of Modernity. Boswick and Ward explained that for Christian, the sociological description of the family in the modern context is not enough. We don't accept existing practice as normative. Instead, we critique social realities based on Bible truth. This certainly applies to the modern world emphasis on commodities. Unfortunately, the church itself too often has become a business and organization for gospel marketing. The search for integration. Another question raised by Balswick and Ward's paper has to do with integration. Some articles are synchronic and others are diachronic. The former seeks to understand the underlying structure of reality, how they operate, and the function they serve. The latter examines the true story of reality. The two complement each other. We begin with specific experience in history, and from this we infer the basic structure of reality. And the structural models help us to understand and predict what is going on around us.
Next, we'll explain about the complementary belief system table. The first table describes the diachronic model containing the biblical theology of the cosmic story. In this case, it describes God's action in a Christian history and also in cults, human history. In this model, also focus on time, stories, real event, and a change that occurred. The second table contains the synchronization model, which contains systematic theology of the main structure of a reality. In this model contains about the nature of God and the universe. This model focuses on the unchanging structure of reality. In knowing complementary nature of the meaning, there is over a less clear understanding, but there is an approach that has a reality. Understanding of reality itself has relationship with one another. One thing we need to re-examine our theology again existing Bible. The task we need to do is integrate technology and science, synchronic and diachronic of merit and family in modernity. The scientific examination of the modernity in theological framework allows us to Christians is understand its place in the history of divinity. The meaning that we can take is that the structure of the object in their stories also function in human life.
My student number is 71-2019-257. Today I will explain about relevance for human realities. From this is clear that it's not enough to formulate a clear Christian response to modernity. This is need to be told in the churches. Many ordinary women and men who try to live a godly life do not find answer to their sad cries for help in church. For them, the thick books studied are useless. What they need are clear, simple books with a solid theological and scientific foundation that touch them in their time of need. Women caught in a destructive and abusive marriage need a permission to look at the scriptures and interpret them Christologically. They need to see how Jesus treated people without coercion, with unconditional love, and as a slave. They need a new sensible structure that gives them permission to become fully human. For too often the crunch only assert it's a traditional oppressive rule. The church too needs to be called the text of criticizing its social and cultural context. Too often it loses its prophetic voice and serves only to legitimize the existing structure of a sensual society. As such, it has become part of the problem, not the solution. The church needs to a model covenant relationship as the basis of marriage. It is necessary to teach husband to love their wife as Christ loved the church, to show husband how to be servant leaders, to show unselfish love, and to affirm the growth and personality of their wife and children. It needs to be taught to wife the meaning of union in marriage, and children to respect their parents. It needs to emphasize the sacramental nature of the marriage bond, and the value of each individual in the family is necessary. Sees the family as a basis for worship, for the evangelion of youth, and for their outreach into the Christian